Welcome to the BYOD podcast, Bring Your Own Directions. My name is Björn, co-CEO of Resolution, and in this show, where every guest sets their own path, sharing insights and ideas about Agile topics and the Atlassian ecosystem. Proudly sponsored by NASA, not another Standup app. The Atlassian Marketplace app that makes Agile ceremonies, stand-ups, planning sessions not just efficient, but also enjoyable. So please stand by. So welcome back. Today with me is Andreas from Yasoon. So let's say hello. Hey, Andreas. Hi.
Hi, Björn. Thanks for having me.
How's it going?
I'm tired. You can see my earrings. Had a bad night with my kids, but other than that, everything's good.
Okay, cool. So I missed you a little bit on the Divinity Jira Day last week. I met your colleagues at the event. So kids, or what was the decision for not going?
Yeah, actually, my kids are 5, 3, and 1, and every parent knows what that means in the current period. So yeah, I have to choose my events wisely, and I will be in Anaheim.
Cool.
So other events have to step down a little.
Perfect. Then I'm looking forward to see you in person in Anaheim. 5, 3, and 1. So that's all numbers in the Fibonacci sequence.
But I'm not going to continue that.
Yeah, on some point you should stop, or your goal is to have a soccer team or something like that. We know us since a couple of years. So I know your solution. I know Yasoon, you're a famous marketplace vendor based in Germany. But tell us a little bit more about yourself, about Yasoon. What was the initial idea for going to the marketplace and taking the beast Microsoft into it? So yeah, looking forward to hear a little bit from you.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I'm Andy from Yasoon. I'm the co-founder. I have actually Toby with me. We are both developers, so that's kind of a special situation that we founded a company with 2 developers. And that's also the history. I mean, that's what we like. I mean, I have quit my job because I'm not the enterprise corporate person. And luckily, Toby decided to leave with me as well. And at that time, Outlook was the dominant program in our corporate life. So everything was email, everything was calendar. There was no Skype, there was no Teams. There was Skype for Business started to change it a little bit.
It was never successful, or it was always 10 minutes chaos, and then you had the possibility to talk to somebody.
Yeah, but it was never like replacing emails. So all the decisions were made by emails, and we thought, hey, we need to find something more clever. And that was like the starting point. We did some customer consulting to finance our company. And with, I don't know, what was I, 24 or so, I had no expenses. And so we could work on our Outlook idea. And then it was pure accident. One of our customers, they were a consulting company, and they had one problem. Their developers worked in Jira, but the project manager had to communicate with the client. And so they got email, hey, here's a requirement. Email, hey, this is not working correctly. Here's a bug. Whatever. And the project manager always had to take these emails and put them into Jira because he was not allowed to forward it to the developers directly because it would get lost. And that was the first idea to create the Outlook add-in for Jira. And then we put it into the marketplace, and by luck, I mean, I haven't even worked with Jira before. It was really just because of that client.
That's interesting, and also a little bit unique, because most people in the Atlassian ecosystem, especially in the marketplace, they worked for many years with Jira. A lot of them were side by side when Jira was born, and they installed the server version 2 or 3 or whatever. So means you really started with the Microsoft Outlook part, and the requirement was to integrate it in Jira. Cool.
Yeah, we actually had the idea to Outlook add-ins at that time were really complex, and they had a bad reputation that if it crashed, Outlook crashed, and nobody wanted to use them. And so we wanted to create like a platform. So that technical aspect was always there. We wanted to create a platform where you can plug in all your apps into Outlook. So we had also integrations for Basecamp, Dropbox, stuff like this. And then Jira as one of the more successful now. And and then Microsoft actually started to create an app store on their own. So they had their own app store, and that was basically, okay, nobody will ever use our app store if Microsoft is providing an official one. And that's when we decided to, okay, let's focus on this one particular integration, which was the most successful at that time, because we had the Atlassian Marketplace as the selling vehicle. And I will never forget the first customer that was to server times. And so we had it in the marketplace for, I don't know, maybe 2 months or 3 months. And then you have seen a check from a Florida container shipping company, and they paid $2,000 to, and they have never contacted us before. And for us, it was like a really unique moment to say, wow, wait, there's someone paying $2,000 just to use the software without even talking to us. It was, that was really cool.
Yeah, I can assume that this is a cool moment. So when was it? When you launched your app, the first app in the marketplace?
I think it was exactly 10 years ago, so around about 2015, when we already started with the Jira Cloud version at that time. So it was roughly the time 2014, 2015, when Atlassian Cloud started. We also joined the marketplace. And there have been some other Outlook integrations at that time before, but they were not cloud compatible. And we hadn't had any history, so we could create our product based on the assumption, hey, there is cloud and there is server, and we had like an information advantage because we knew what's coming.
I mean, 2015, 2016, I joined the Atlassian Marketplace much later, but I know the resolution story, and I was standing on the site when Chris Reichert put the SAML single sign-on in the marketplace 2013. So 2013 was, okay, you are one of the first ones, the first SAML single sign-on idea in the marketplace and so on. And you said now, okay, there were already other integrations. So you also said, okay, Toby and you are developers. So was it more, okay, let's do this Outlook thing without market research, let's not testing the stuff straightforward in the direction? Or are you trying to figure out, can it be successful in the marketplace?
No, I mean, for us, it was like, okay, we had this one client who actually needed it. He really asked for it. The whole use case made sense. And so we did not do any further research.
Okay.
We just trust the process.
Then nowadays, your app is when somebody wants to collaborate between the Microsoft world and the Atlassian world. Your app is the first one which comes up in the marketplace. You have thousands of customers. So I assume I'm not asked the question, was it the right decision for quit your job and so on? I assume you're happy with that. So, but was there, during this journey, was there the point where you said, oh, this is maybe not successful, or where you struggled with your decision?
I mean, we never struggled with the decision, but obviously, I mean, I think everyone can imagine the first 100, 500, 1,000 installations, they can be really small, especially if you do not have a marketing genius in your department, but have to do it organically. And we sat down at the end of each year and asking, okay, are we still learning enough to continue? Like, it was not a financial successful thing. We had maybe like in the beginning, we had like 5,000 revenue a month. Then maybe a year later, it was 10,000, which is, hey, 100% growth, but it's still very low if you have to pay a whole company from 10,000 euros a month. And we thought, okay, it's an investment in ourselves as well. It's like a risk we can take, and we want to learn something for ourselves. So are we improving? Are we actually getting better? And if everything fails, we have a nice side business, but get a better job at another company or so. And at the end of each year, and this is like the end of year sale, there was one big customer coming. It was maybe Qantas. It was a thing. And they signed an incredible big deal. And they were like, okay, no, we can't end now, right? I mean, it was not successful, but now the momentum changed. And it was a good decision to have this meeting always end of the year between Christmas and Sylvester.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we had it at the beginning that we were trying to figure out, should we continue, shouldn't we?
That's interesting. So I never heard that to continue. The question is, are we learning enough? I mean that's cool, but nowadays you have a lot of founders. They have the dream to found the company. They maybe have similar product stories and so on, but they ask more the questions. Okay, what is my revenue at the end of the year? What is my margin? And what's my actual evaluation for an exit? So it's not so often a learning question. I like this one.
But we never. That's probably we also never founded a company to be to make money. The biggest reason was we are not corporate guys. And we wanted to do our own thing and all this money thing. And we wanted to be developer. We wanted to build products, and we always over-engineered everything. And it's like. So yeah, I mean, this is.
So I mean, 10 years is a long time. So how many people are Yasoon now?
We have now grown to 25 people.
25 people. So means you, two developers founding a company with the goal to learning something and to have fun and not being in a corporate. And then on some point alongside the journey, you start to hire people. The company is growing. You need to think about HR. You need to think about meeting structure and so on. So how, I guess just a little bit that two developers are not totally looking forward for creating a company structure and so on. So how was this part of the journey for you?
I think we have been super lucky there as well. I mean, obviously now, 10 years later, I would do everything differently. I would directly try to hire, I would wait longer, but hire full-time developers, hire only for full-time employees. At that time, we started with working students and tried to fill the gaps a little bit in marketing. And we always had the idea to hire in the areas we don't want to do. Like we started hiring in the marketing area because preparing a summit was no fun for us, like creating brochures, developing a booth layout. That was simply no fun for us. And so we started with a freelancer there, then hired some students to write the text, maintaining the homepage, stuff like this, maintaining the marketplace, uploading images, all these kind of things we don't want to do. But then at one point we have been super lucky that we found a good business leader for our team, so we could really hand over her the responsibility for all these business areas. Right? I mean, it's not, we have no full-time HR department, we have no full-time marketing department, but for us, this was like one collection of people, our business team, and they did design, marketing, partner management, support, HR, accounting, and she managed that really, really well. And that always made it easy for me because I could focus on the things that are fun to me. And this is hang out with the developers, think about bugs, operational excellence, stuff like this.
Was it difficult? I assume that hiring a person for the whole business side of the business of the company is, first of all, a really smart decision, but it also means that you need to give away responsibility, and other people make also decisions which potentially can influence your day-to-day stuff. Was it hard?
We never hired for that role. So she was actually our marketing employee, and then she had really bright ideas, and
she stepped up. So.
She stepped up in her role, and then we're like, oh, if you can do it, great. So it was really like we hired her for marketing, and she showcased that she can do a lot more, and then it was the step up. Yes, it would be incredible hard for us to hire someone in that role.
So you said you would. You said with the knowledge what you have today, you would have done a couple of things different. So when you need to choose one thing, when you have the possibility to go back in time, travel back in time, and change a specific decision, what would it be?
It would really be to hire full-time employees from the very beginning, try to get as good people as possible, and better delay the first employee and not starting with working students, because you have to. They are smart people from university, but they haven't seen a lot, and especially for us, we have been pretty young. I mean, yes, we had a couple of years of experience, but having someone truly experienced in our company would have boosted everything. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Interesting. So when 25 people, how classic developer company in the beginning. So how's the split of developer and I call it sometimes overhead, so marketing and so on. What's your split there? Are you still a pure development company?
I mean, we do basically everything in-house. So we have no freelancers, no marketing agency. So we don't outsource a lot of things. So it's maybe 2/3 developers, 1/3 overhead in your terms, but it is support, it is partner management, it is marketing, it is a designer. So there is a lot of still product related employees that we think is not as an overhead. If I think of overhead, it is like accounting, because you have to have it, but no one wants it to. And our marketing
is not hearing the podcast.
and they are in the marketing, they are influencing our product as well. So they are designing the text, they shape the user journey, the first install experience, stuff like this. So it's not like, hey, this is an agency and they are in a different department. We try to incorporate their knowledge into the product as well.
Atlassian, Microsoft. So one big beast and one 10 years ago, one cool upcoming company.
They hadn't 1,000 employees at that time. It was
so, and making the decision, okay, I create a solution, and 10 years ago, the name middleware or something like that was maybe also around. So making the decision, okay, we are creating something which connects the beast and the upcoming stuff. So I assume along the journey, you had major changes of the strategy of both companies. So, when I remember on Microsoft 10 years ago, it was a complete different company. When I remember on Atlassian 10 years ago, it was a complete different company. So how have you adapted these changes? Because I assume there were also some big changes in it where UI or whatever platform changes, but also strategy changes that Microsoft started with SaaS instead of selling all their stuff in one package. So how you adapted all these big changes?
On the Microsoft side, I think it's pretty simple, because this trend to Microsoft 365, to have everything cloud-based, this is a smooth transition for 10 years now. So they started it when we started, and it's not an overnight success, but it is going and coming. And now we have, I think most companies have accepted cloud in their Microsoft infrastructure.
Yeah.
And Microsoft always had this big, I take over the world vision. So they never bother to create a Jira integration on their own or something. They are like, I want to create a platform. I want to have the biggest platform in the world. I want everyone to work on it.
Yeah, the others will
I don't, and and others have to create so I try to create the possibilities to integrate with this platform, and others have to do it. And that aligned pretty well with a company like ours. Not saying that they are doing a good job there. It's not also a big mess on all these integration stuff, and they have so much legacy. I mean, Outlook is dated back to, 1980 or so, and I'm pretty sure there are still aspects of the code from then in the current code base. And Atlassian was definitely trickier with the transition to cloud is slower. They also realized that Microsoft 365 is a dominant player. And so they have started to create own integrations for their own. And so we have to find a spot where there's a basic offering from Atlassian and we have the upsell. And this is a constant cat and mice game. Is it an English term? I don't know. If not, I'm creating it. But yeah, there's a constant battle of Atlassian is shipping something, we have to react on it, then they are changing another thing. And I think that the biggest hit for us was 2019 when they have created their own Outlook add-in, which had, by surprise, exactly the same 3 buttons than ours, and exactly the same functionality. And that made us think about, okay, are we a Microsoft partner integrating with Atlassian, or are we an Atlassian partner integrating with Microsoft? And we think it is safer to be a Microsoft partner because they will never touch your business. They will.
Interesting. Okay, but you're doing the monetization.
Yeah. You can't have all. Yes, but it's true. We do 100% of our sales is on the Atlassian Marketplace.
Yeah. Interesting. So means when, I mean, there are a lot of points in it. So you mentioned already, and I think a lot of marketplace vendors realize the same in the Atlassian ecosystem, but you have it also in other tech ecosystems that when a vendor somehow creates an integration to another tool or to another platform, they often go for the minimum basic to have somehow the check in the checkbox for RFPs and so on. And then they can say, yes, we integrate in Microsoft. And then on some point it stops. I mean, it means, but you mentioned, okay, it's a continuous, you said cat mice hunting game. So have you seen after the first implementation 2019 from Atlassian that they improved their integration, or was it really more, no, we throw it in, it's done and fine?
I mean, the Outlook add-in has not improved. That was really like, okay, we had 1 year of budget and they made continuous improvements, but it was one financial year where they shipped improvements. And then after this one financial year, budget was over and basically they never touched it again. And on Teams, it is a little bit different because Teams, I think, is so fundamental now for a lot of companies that they have created like silo applications. So one for incident management, one for regular software project, one for service management. So they are trying to create Teams helpers for everyone.
Yeah.
And there's always the challenge for us to understand, okay, what are they going for? What will be the next steps? Will there be next steps at all? And so it's more on the team side where it is a constant battle on the improvements.
Got it. So you said also that Yasoon is more a Microsoft partner as an Atlassian partner. So this is maybe a little bit an answer to my question, what I had on the list, and I think what a lot of people often have on the list when they see your solution. So why are you doing it just for Microsoft? There's also a Google world, there's a Slack world. So you have a very, very complex integration also with complex really in a positive way. You can do a lot of stuff from the team's single point of contact platform from the user perspective with collaboration possibilities in the Atlassian world. So how often do you have as a team the discussion if we should do it for Google and for Slack or other platforms as well?
I mean, in the team, it's clear we have it transparent that we don't do it because I think we are subject matter experts how to bring Teams and Microsoft collaboration into a third-party app. So this is the main benefit we do. Like, how do you get my Teams communication into the development process? How do I get Teams communication into my service project? And and this is what I mean by, yes, we do on the sales side, we do everything on the Atlassian platform because it's much easier to target. I know there's a huge overlap between Jira customers and Microsoft customers. We have one sponsored a Microsoft conference. And I promise 90% of the people walk by, oh, Jira, is this your company?
Yeah, I mean, okay.
And this is, in your bubble, Jira is like, hey, everyone should know Jira. If you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, there are so many people, and this is also the size of the conference, right? I mean, the Atlassian team is maybe like 5,000 people now.
On a lucky day, yes.
Yeah, and the Microsoft conference, there were 75,000 people. They had to have a full football stadium for the keynote and stuff like this. You had thousands of buses bringing the people to the venue. And so it's a different scale. And so it's always much harder to find the Jira users in the Microsoft world. But if I want to diversify my business, I would take all my knowledge, how to bring communication into support processes, and would probably build it for ServiceNow, or I would do it for, I mean, I don't know the marketplace, or Monday.com, or what are the latest things, but I know how to bring communication into a business process. And this is why I would take the Teams part as granted and then bring it into different ecosystems.
Interesting, because it's, I mean, always when you talk to other Atlassian Marketplace vendors, or when you're by myself, I see it when I'm somehow in the Atlassian tunnel and think, hey, Atlassian is the best after sliced bread in the world, and so on. It makes totally sense how you explained it. Yes, Microsoft Teams or all the tools there are a 75,000 conference thing and not a 5,000 thing. So
the German Microsoft conference had 25,000 attendees. Just saying.
20% of these companies are still on Windows NT and using.
I don't know. This is I only talk to the Microsoft 365 customers, so I don't know how deep the hole is.
So we see your beautiful background with the Yasoon logo and the light, and I know that you were moved last year into a new office. So in the middle of where the whole world discuss, should we stay remote? Some companies decide to put some pressure on their employees and say something like, you need to come back to the office 3 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever. So with all the pro and cons, etc. So first of all, how was your movement, and what was the decision for? I know that a new office is a huge investment. So it's not just a monthly rental fee. It's also you need to put a lot of nice furniture in it and so on. You need to deal with it. You need to think about who's managing all the stuff, etc. So what were your motivation to say we are going into a new office with our employees?
I mean, I think it's always comes down to how I want to, or what kind of company I personally want. So this is like the main judgment is, what company do I want to work in? And that's why we are heavily development focused. We are not sales driven. We develop first and then see how it goes, because we are both developers. We love talking about the development stuff and not about the sales stuff. And it's the same thing. I want to be surrounded by people. I don't want to have these low point relationships that are in a pure remote company. And I always say like, hey, they can, at one time they quit and then they join another Zoom meeting and being part of a different company. And this is not how I want to treat my employees, but I also don't want my employees to treat me like that. So I want to have a true relationship. And this is what we said from the beginning. COVID, obviously, we sent everyone home for 2 years. Everyone was working remote, but we still continue to hire only in Mannheim. And there was always the plan to have like one headquarter where we meet, where we come together at least a couple of times a week.
And still the case, all your employees are in the same town or around?
Yes, right. We only hire locally. And that's why we have this 100%. Everyone is in driving distance to the office. We have a 3-day policy to come into the office. There is no real discussion about it, because we have been extremely transparent about it, that COVID is temporary. That's not the company I want to have. And we also hire only people who want to work in the same way. Like, I never convinced a home office worker to be part of my company. If they want to work remotely, that's perfectly fine. Then they are not a good fit for me. And I think transparency helped a lot. I think a lot of corporates that have issues now getting their employees back into the office haven't been honest in the past, have made promises they cannot hold now. And we always tried to be transparent, and so we don't have the discussion yet. And actually, for me, it's so pleasurable. We have days, presence days, like Tuesday, Thursday, where basically everyone is in the office, and I don't have a single Teams call at that time. Everything is doing in a meeting room. I could just walk by an office desk, and I preferred my employees like that. They're also real friendships. So this is something I really love. If I hear, oh, these two guys, one rather new, joined the company, and they went to a weekend trip to London together. And they're like, cool. How cool is that you go or you join a company and you find friends that within a couple of months and you will join them on a weekend trip to London. And that probably wouldn't happen on a remote company.
I mean, that's super unique. So when you look on all these startups the last years or companies and so on, most of them are remote first companies, and maybe they have a couple of offices, whatever, and so on. So because it gives a lot of flexibility. So now you are based in Mannheim. You said you just hire locally. So had you on some point the situation where this aspect that you hire locally and people need to be in the office, that it limited Yasoon on some point because it was not able to find a person or whatever?
I mean, it's a complex question. One thing, in the meantime, this office culture has become an advantage for us, because we can really hire high talented people who don't want to. They have been working remotely for such a long time, and they are just tired of it. And so they see, hey, there's a really competitive company, great technology. I just want to join them because that's the way how I want to work. And also, if you're working in a corporate, yes, you are forced into the office, but you are still sitting in front of Teams because you have to call with China, you have to call with the US.
Well, that happens when I go to the office. I'm the whole time in a meeting room with myself and my Zoom.
Right. So this is just bonkers. And if I tell them how we work, they are like, "Oh, that sounds great." And so it's also it has turned into a benefit actually. And on the other hand, we tried to outsource some developments, like with freelancers, hire more remotely, and we not hire directly, but we tried to work with freelancers. But it requires so much more management effort, and then turns back to us. I don't want to be the professional manager. I want to be a good technician, and so I had the choice, basically improve my management skills and hire remotely, or further improve our technical skills, and then I can hire locally. We find a couple of really excellent engineers, and others we can just give them training and hire them from university, but we have the knowledge internally to make them world-class developers. And
cool.
So it's a balance, but I don't think it limits us at the moment. But we are also in a good spot with a lot of tech companies around us. There's universities around
as well,
us. So it's a kind of good place to hire actually.
Okay. So I was not aware of this, but this makes the next part of the podcast more interesting, because means you have a lot of on-site meetings, which is super rare nowadays. So let me quickly share my screen. So as everybody in this podcast, you answered a couple of questions about Agile meetings, mostly focused on the stand-up meeting. And you had some outstanding answers in some cases. So, I mean, you explained already. You are a developer, you are a tech person, you founded a company together with another developer, and so on. So, and when it comes, I'm relatively sure you know the concept for stand-up meetings, daily meetings since many, many years. And but it shows me also that you are not the best friend of preparing meetings. So how? So you said, for example, here that you not properly prepare your update in the 3 questions, and also that you're not working with notes and so on. So that's an interesting point, because at the end you are the founder and also the CEO of the company. So it means I see it also on my weaknesses. So, and I always need to remember sometimes when I look on my weaknesses, with my weaknesses, I'm also the person who give examples, bad or good examples, how we should work. So how is your team working with this, that you are joining? You are more the person who coming unprepared to a stand-up. Hey, here's Andy. How are you? So how's your team adopting this?
I mean, it's definitely a bad example, and I think it's also we have a bad stand-up culture. It's like we are one of these Scrum companies. We have a stand-up, yes, and we do Scrum. That's the justification for it. So yes, we have not really implemented these Scrum manifesto internally, and it's more like a quick status update. Hey, I'm working on this, I'm working on that, and then everyone gets away.
You have the huge benefit that all your people are in the office. Yeah. So when
not all the time. I mean, this is like we have usually Friday is completely empty in the office. Monday is like depends.
But would you say that these missing structure is not so painful for Yasoon, because in 60% of the weekly time, I simply can go to the next desk when I have a question and talk about it?
I mean, it does limit our ability. We are working on it. It's just like, okay, you have not answered how do I want to be on a daily. It's like how I am acting right now.
Okay.
We tried to improve a couple of times. We had like different daily rules for a couple, like hey, you only have 1 minute with a timer, or you have to prepare something written beforehand, and nothing really stick to us. So like,
Okay.
I don't know, nobody really liked it. And also, I mean, you mentioned this with the issue keys. The worst part is that I'm the founder, and I'm sometimes still fixing things without even creating an issue for it. How do you so bad examples? I mean, it's obviously, and we are, but I mean, we are we are improving there. I mean, now we are more developers, we need more structure. This is something we have totally underestimated, how much of a difference it is if you have 5 developers or 10 or 15 developers.
Yeah.
It's such a difference in how much process do you need. At the beginning, we just had lunch together, and then everyone knew what's going on. There was no need for a daily, right? I mean, or if you were in a customer call and were angry about your own bug, everyone knew about it, right? I mean, just because you were furious about it and talked about it. This has changed, obviously, with 10 developers. Not everyone knows what is the other one working around, what are the conflicts, are there overlapping things. Also, Toby and I cannot oversee everything anymore. Like, it's too much going on to really know. And so we are improving, but right now we are looking into a weekly meeting where it's not on a daily basis, but hey, we take some time at the beginning of the week. What are your plans? What is your reflection on last week? To have more time to really go into depth, and then trying to understand what everyone is going for and looking for, and then you can say, oh, this is an interesting idea, maybe I can help you with that. And then we've tried to find help on this level.
It's interesting. I mean, we had a resolution, we had a little bit a similar journey. So we somehow implemented half Scrumish something.
That's what we do.
But for us, the trigger for really improving it and also playing around with the recommended structure and with the right ceremonies and so on, the trigger for us was 2 years ago, this 4-day week discussion, because we said, okay, we can't burn time. And the results were amazing relatively quickly, because this made for us more obvious how much time we burn in talking about the same stuff again, or how much issues we create when not all people are on the same page and so on. So, but if you want, I created a complete new Agile ceremony training 3 weeks ago. It's finished. It's a 4-hour training. You can watch it on YouTube, but hey, Mannheim is not far away, so I'm also happy to join your team.
Oh, I thought I can come to Berlin.
Yeah, we can do it with the whole team. I mean, the whole team can also come to Berlin. But no, that's interesting. I mean, I'm also more an ad hoc person, and it's also hard for me for preparing meetings, because I made many years education sessions with sales teams, and it was fine for me to join completely unprepared and having an 8-hour sales training. So I'm more this person. But I really learned that these focusing on the structure, and that's super interesting, focusing super hard on the structure, on the Scrum structure or with the ceremony structure, is really helpful. And I learned in the last 2 years also more and more these pain points when, I'll just give you an example. We always mixed up the sprint review and the sprint retro meeting. So we said, why should we do 2 meetings? It's a waste of time. And on some point we switched it. And it was a game changer, because it is so difficult for people to mix these 2 topics. So in the sprint review, it's about what you have achieved and how it looks like. You need to do a demo. People, stakeholders need to give feedback on it. But you're not discussing the process, how you achieved the stuff. And in the retro, you give immediately the time for, hey, now let's talk about the process, how we achieved it, what can we improve, and so on. And I always thought, hey, we can do it in one meeting. And no, I was totally wrong. It was I have much more input now from the team when I split the meetings and when we give this time, and it's more helpful. But it's super interesting.
Probably we should really talk about the training then.
Yes, yeah, we can do it. Active listening. You are an active listener, but it looks like that you're sometimes also falling into the trap of multitasking. So you said you are neutral to avoiding multitasking. So do you have a specific point where multitasking is triggered from your side, or where you said, oh, no, I need to listen now to Toby and need to stop typing on Teams? So,
I mean, if something is interesting to me, I really listening and have no mood. But at some point, usually, either if it's too long or if it's not my focus area, and I'm just involved by my role, like then sometimes I grab up my phone and it might not even be multitasking. It might be I'm reading newspaper or something, or answering WhatsApp messages. Okay. It's a really bad habit, but it's like this is definitely something I try to fix in my private life. I try to fix it in my professional life. Not to have a phone in my hand when someone else is speaking, which is just unpolite, unfriendly, but it is a bad habit and it's not changed overnight. And so, yeah, I'm working on that.
Yeah, cool. No, but, I mean, thanks for your openness. I discuss it also a lot with friends, for example. So I went for Christmas and New Year's Eve to Sweden with some friends, and they came up after 3-4 days because they were always Instagram, TikTok, also when they watch TV or Netflix in parallel, they this is scrolling. And I'm not doing it. I'm stopped with this a couple of years ago because it was too stressful. So my smartphone is always on silent mode. I have no vibration, and so I never look on this. I showed my smartphone to Britta, one of your colleagues, last week, and she was completely messed up with all my red notification button. Okay, it's a notification. It's not important. I consume it when I want it. And then we had this discussion about doing these things in parallel. And I started to deep dive a little bit more in the aspect because you have at the moment anyway, it's often discussed in the news, the usage of social media and also doing multitasking, etc. And what I found super interesting, I read a study and that they said it creates stress for your brain when you consume two things in parallel or when you try it. That's relatively clear in logic. But the interesting point, I was not aware of this, that they measured that people are still stressed when the smartphone is next to them when they're watching Netflix. So it fundamentally changed when you put your smartphone far away that you can't reach it from your sofa. So then the brain starts to relax. Okay, that's interesting. And it's my partner is relatively similar. I don't know why she has a smartphone at all. So I never can reach her. But no, interesting.
That's cool.
I'm really looking forward to visit you in your office. I would love to do a workshop with you and your team. Cool. So for the value delivery, here a lot of different answers, but in the meaning of time, I want to understand, because this answer is not so common. You strongly agreed that your dailies, and you also said you're moving now more to a weekly, that this helps that the team focuses on getting progress to the goals. And I think that's, from my personal experience, that's one of the biggest challenges. First of all, communicating the goal. So when you have an idea in your head that which sounds good for you, that the whole team also understand the value, everybody is on the same page and so on. But then you have always a second challenge, not losing the focus on the goal. So how you do it with your teams that you really get the value out of these meetings?
Okay, maybe I had a little bit different interpretation of the question as well.
Or a
Because
superpower now.
yeah, I mean, what I was thinking about was we first of all, I can blindly trust everyone to be to give 100% every time. They try their best all the time to get this finished, to get this solved. I can be 100% sure that in our culture there's no ego, there's no company politics, there's no there's no politics. So it's really about getting the best solution for our customers, and nothing else matters. And then we have like a clear we use Jira Product Discovery for our continuous roadmap, where we always have like, okay, what is the area we want to improve, and then what are the singular ideas. And I had like, okay, this is an area, it's for us a goal. I want to create a better Teams integration. I want to have a SharePoint integration. I want to have but it was more on this technical, for me, more on this technical aspect. And this is broken down, and then everything is clear that we will improve on this goal at every time in the best possible way, and not being distracted by, I don't want to work here. What is this about? Whatever. It's like, it's really transparent culture. And
I mean that's a huge value. When you as a CEO when you are sure 100% of the time, so that people are giving also their 100% acceptance.
I always tell them there are good times and bad. They don't have to pretend being in a good time if they're in bad times. I pay them for years. You can't have only good days, right? And that's perfectly fine. But I can, even if they are not performing that well in that day or that week, I know they're not lazy, or they are not they are still trying their best in their current situation, and they will be next week fully energized, and they will overachieve then next week. And I think this is the important part here.
Yeah. So you said earlier that you hire talent. So talent is for me very often the word for young talented people, but maybe less experienced. So do you have something in place that when somebody joins new in your team that they get these experience, or is it the whole team dynamics who's forming the new colleague?
I mean, this is something we have definitely improved last year when we hired a lot of developers. We have an onboarding process. We have a lot of documentation. We have a lot of processes documented where they can read through. They have a mentor. They are sitting next to each other. It's also like the mentor and the mentee, they sit next to each other, so they can really ask questions as fast as they can. We still realize how long it takes to onboard someone, to learn about all the Atlassian ecosystem, to understand what is data center, Connect, what are all these facets of Connect. Oh, there's Forge. What is different to Forge? And then you have to multiply that with the Microsoft area, because also on the Microsoft there is a lot of legacy parts. There are good parts. There are bad parts. Why is it different here? We don't know. There are two different teams that nobody cared about. And so you see the same patterns at a certain size. Neither Atlassian nor Microsoft are creating the best products possible because there are so many people involved. They just do their own things at the end.
Interesting. Dedication. So let's come to because it fits super well now to go to these to the third part. So for bring your own direction, you have chosen dedication, which is an interesting one, and I think when all what I heard so far, it's also more and more logic that you have to do it. But you're doing some unique stuff. All your team is together in one city. They are mostly 60% working on site together. That's unique and not all and super rare in the tech world. So, and now you say dedication in a world where it's normal to come up relatively quick with an MVP, testing stuff, blah, 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 doing next. So it's all about output, or a lot of organizations measure their success, especially in the first stages of startups, etc. Okay, we need to have this, where dedication is more, or my interpretation of dedication is also going really deep in some things. So what makes dedication for you important and for Yasoon important?
Yeah, I think I've chosen that word because it is like the common theme for Yasoon. So like we are now 10 years in the business. We have basically just one app, one topic, connecting Jira and Microsoft 365 to go really, really deep, to do it really, really well. But it's also something on a personal level that really bothers me, that it is so normal to have just a mediocre product and people accept it. Like if we have customer calls and then they run into a bug in our app, they're like, oh yeah, that happens from time to time. They are not even, I'm ashamed of it. I don't want to have that bug in my product. They're like, yeah, that's just occasional. That's okay. You don't have to worry about that. Like, I do worry about that because that's not normal. And people, especially in big corporates, they have so many, shitty products and workflows, and everything is just barely working. But it's good enough, and so nobody cares to fix. And you can see this whole pattern everywhere. If you go through the App Store in Google or the Windows Store is even worse. There's only crap products in, and 90% of the apps on the Android store could be removed, and nobody would bother. And there's so much mediocrity in our tech world, and that bothers me. I want to have pixel perfect UIs. I want to have bug free. And don't do everything, but do one thing really, really well. And I'm passionate about it, and I couldn't take passion, so I choose dedication.
I had many years ago consultant in the previous company, and when we argued about software, he always said, okay, it's banana software. I said, okay, what's banana software? Yeah, it's finished on the customer side. So
but never finished there because the budget runs out.
yeah. But also this, I mean, there are tons of jokes around it. So you can also say, okay, well, Microsoft always had these error messages, and people are don't want to have it. Apple was always good not displaying an error message. They are just closing a window, and then you have a complete different impression. But it's in this whole SaaS cloud world where pace or pace, speed, development speed, and so on is an important thing. And there's also this word of perfect is the enemy from good. So where people say, okay, I just what you said, what you don't like, when people just deliver something which is good enough, but it's painful in so many ways. So it's a long intro to my question. Do you have the feeling that your customers value your high quality approach on it?
I mean,
you are successful.
I think so, yes. So I mean, obviously they choose to buy us instead of using the Atlassian free app, so that there are alternatives that are free and they still choose to pay. But I think it's not about is someone actually valuing it. I think it's that was always the question. I mean, I've been working in consulting, and then they were like, yeah, there's no time to fix the layout. It's just put label and values on the screen. Nobody pays for the layout. And that might be true if you tell them, hey, this label accurately costs $500 more. they would not willing to pay for it. If you design the whole software in a better way, in a more accessible way, in a more beautiful way, then you are talking not about $500. You are talking about $5 million to do it differently, or $50 million to do it differently. But you have a whole other sales aspect, and so you can't tell, is it this one aspect or the other? It's the whole philosophy around it. And I can say this is also one part that allows us to hire high talented people, because we take quality of our product seriously. That also is, it's not only about if you want to provide high quality software for the customer, you also need to make sure that they are less likely to produce bugs. You have to provide a higher code quality. You need to provide more testing also. So you need to do a lot of things right to provide this higher quality software. And we, for example, we refactoring our code a lot of times, so it's not shipped and done. Every couple of years we are trying to refactor our code, not because I think, oh, it provides value, but I think that these core logic will slow you down over time. Like if I'm thinking back to my time at SAP, for example, they had never rewritten their core business logic. It was, I could still drill down into code which had German comments in it, where variable names were only 4 letters long, because at the time, memory was valuable, and so they decided 4 letters are enough, and table names were like BOT 000, BOT 001, BOT 0010. And you're like, okay. And this now slows down 100,000 developers at SAP. It's not that the customer is, or I think, and you ask like, the pace is important. I think a good quality code base is work, but it also provides value to deliver value faster. And this is not immediate, and you shouldn't. There's a balance in between. You can't add a new framework every year, but if you come to a point where it slows you down, fix it at that time, and you will never refactor SAP again, because they are now 40 years built into this code base, always on top and on top and on top. And this, but now it really slows down the developers, and that could have been avoided if they have started like 35 years ago about refactoring. That's my opinion on it, and we will see in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years if that's if that was a good idea or a completely stupid idea.
Yeah, I mean, you have proven with Yasoon already that this is a good idea. And I mean, you are now in one part of the journey where you have the benefit already. I mean, that's in we have sometimes the discussions. I mean, I think it heavily depends on your product and where you are in your journey. If you have the possibility to refactor again and again and again, because there's also the point what we learned with a couple of apps, and I think you mentioned it also in the beginning a little bit. You also tested some other apps in the marketplace, etc. But you have, in some cases, you have products where you need feedback quickly, where you want to understand is the idea working or not. And what I always find challenging is to balance exactly the development effort and this pressure point on, hey, on some point, and we should come out with that. I mean, for example, we developed. It's super hard, and we fail continuously with that because there are so many aspects on it. So we develop since 12 months an app for Monday.com. And it turns out it's a complex beast. So initial idea was to finish it in 3 months. So we are now over 12 months and still not in the marketplace on Monday.com.
Okay, I should probably reconsider the training on Agile value.
I train Agile ceremony. It's a good point. I give you the tool that you realize that you have the problem. No, no, but I think that's the hard point, and it makes totally sense. But this makes it so difficult in a product world, and I think that's different in a consultant world, because very often in a product world, you will see if something was successful many months or years later. And it's interesting that you as Yasoon have really a lot of unique points where when I would put 100 marketplace vendors in one room and would ask the question, okay, who has the whole team on site? Who is focusing or how much is the focus on code quality and so on? It's super interesting.
I wouldn't agree actually on we have proven that it is successful, because I am convinced a company on our size, we could just pile a bunch of shit and we would be probably more successful. So it's still a bet on the future. As you said, it's still 5 years out. Is our big vision coming together, and are people actually willing to pay for that big vision? If they don't, we shouldn't have put so much effort into all the development stuff. The whole Jira app, as just what we have right now, wouldn't require such an architecture and such an you could still you would need to have to be careful. You might develop 1 or 2 features slower, but if you compare it to all the time we spend to refactoring, they would be far advanced. But this is something I always say. Like I'm a technical person, so I've never learned all these management stuff. I never learned how to measure a company. We still have no KPIs in our company. There's no sales goal. There's no, we just do our best day by day, and then the result is good.
Somebody checking the bank account at the end of the month, and when there's a
that was my controlling for like 7 years or so. Bank account goes up, it was a good month. Bank account goes down, not so good. Let's look. But still, I'm really looking into these things that are not measurable. Like you will never know how much it costs to replace an employee. You will never be able to measure it. The network effect, who else will maybe quit. This is such a complex. Or if one employee left, what does that cost you to replace? Yeah, you can say the new hire, onboarding time, whatever. But you never know what else is happening. And this is the same thing with these code quality. You cannot measure it. That's why a lot of companies ignore it, or they do it because they have to, but they have no good tool to control it. We have no controlling in the first place, so it's much easier to focus on things that feel right to us. And support the company we want to work in, and that's helps others to be more euphoric about their work. They produce better results. A lot of these things. You will never be able to measure that, and you will never be able to look back and say like, "Hey, I should have done that differently." You will never know that.
But it's that brings me to an interesting point, and that's a little bit then. Well, nowadays, the elephant in the room. All these AI tools, which can now first of all, they can enable people to develop software which are normally not capable to develop software, like me. Or I also, my partner had also around Christmas a business problem where you normally use a BI tool, a little bit spreadsheet, blah, blah, blah. So you use 2-3 tools to finish something. And I showed her Bold.new as a development tool. She was never ever in software development, and 8 hours later, she created a web app with exactly the result what she needed. So I was
that's great.
I was super impressed. So now I saw yesterday an interview from, I don't know the name of the guy, but it was a guy, OpenAI, and they discussed when the whole LLMs will reach the level, a PhD level of software development, where depends a little bit on the source, but in some cases they said already, okay, large language model reached already PhD level for lawyers, for example. And now they're going in software development. And the answer there was that they started the discussion with 2027, but they ended up the discussion with, no, at the end of 2025, we will see that all the downsides, what these LLMs can't do at the moment, really good to working with complex logic structures, working in multiple files, and so on, that this will improve. So how do you see, will this influence Yasoon in the future?
I mean, first of all, I'm also pretty impressed by what it can do. We have AI license for everyone. They do use it on a daily basis. I'm not so impressed by the results because it's often very, very basic, and it works great at the beginning, but then again, shit piles up again.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally, I think it's also an unfair comparison. Like, I think AI is really cool for exactly what you describe. I have a small audience of people, and I want to create for them a better solution than an Excel sheet. And then you have these low code, no code tools.
Mm-hmm.
You could build some, but why not create or use an AI agent to create it for you? It's so much simpler. You can use real language. You can modify it easily afterwards. So there are a lot of good examples how to use the AI. On Yasoon, we are aiming to create the world best solution. So like, there's no, it's always like, oh yeah, it's very, but at the end, if you think about it, we are competing on the Atlassian Marketplace. It's worldwide. There is no better solution than ours right now.
Yeah.
And to develop something like this is not about technical skills. It is about getting the right input, getting the right priorities, getting the right discussions. And I have so often that I'm getting into the office and I had this crazy great idea. This is solving everything for us. And then you're talking to two people and they're like, yeah, have you thought about this? And what about this and this and that? And I consider myself a smart person, but that makes you humble from time to time. So like, you have thought about everything. You are super confident that this will be the solution to everything. And they rip it off and say like, yeah, you haven't thought about this and this and this. But the end result, if you start with a good example, and then you started a thinking process in your coworker's mind, and the end result is really something I say, this is objectively better than everything I have came up with on my own.
Yeah.
And this is like the idea. I think we will always work that way. I think we will not transform into an AI will create our features. It's more like we will have development helpers, but the main task of our developers is to find the correct spots, how to enhance, how to involve, how to solve these issues. And there maybe the AI will be a sparring partner. So the initial concept can be even better. But I'm not able to create the best solution on my own, and the AI will not be able to create the best solution on their own. And I'm pretty sure we will then not talk with 4 people, but maybe the AI will also have their thinking part and maybe add some ideas. But for us, there's no intention to replace someone with AI, or we don't think that our work will be reduced with AI. It's more like hopefully with AI we can come up with better solutions, or we can develop them a little faster once we have found them. These two areas.
I mean, you mentioned one important aspect, and that's always what I had in my whole 20, I'm really old now, 20 years of profession. It is somehow difficult to get a team or everybody on the same page that a discussion about something is something good. So it's I find it always interesting how often people avoid discussions or they take it more on the negative side when you criticize something, whatever. And I know, I mean, we have one teammate with a psychologically background and just helping us to bringing all this in the right direction because feedback is always something emotional and so on. But that's also what I say always to my team is I want to trigger discussions because I can be sure the outcome of the discussion is much better as what everyone can do alone. And this is a good point. But what I also learned in the last year, 1.5 years, is what you also mentioned a little bit, that AI can be an amazing sparring partner for this as well. So it's what I'm doing nowadays is you are also using Jira Product Discovery. So when I have an idea for a feature, so instead of explaining it immediately in a meeting and the first idea, I created some GPTs. Oh, it's one GPT, a vision creator, and it creates with me together the vision. And it asks a lot of questions. So I collected all the questions what colleagues normally asking me. So a little bit from the marketing side, a little bit from the product side, and some technical questions and so on. And it creates a huge summary of my idea, challenged my idea already. And this is then what I'm taking to my colleagues and said, hey, can you read this 2-3 minutes? Let's have a discussion.
That's exactly where I can see it at Yasoon as well.
Yeah. It's in general, I'm more on the side, I think that this whole stuff will change drastically our way of working. But yeah, it's really...
Yes, because 90% of the products that are built are crap. I mean, I honestly, I mean, if I would be an outsourcing company with a lot of offshore resources, where the requirement document is so detailed already by engineers, requirement engineers, there are whole professions that are just good in writing down all the results of a feature. Then I would also think about how can I replace these developers with an AI, and how can I supercharge them that one developer can do the work of 10 or whatever the ratio is. Also, there have been super interesting stuff with Upwork, with the freelancer platform, where they just apply it for a lot of these actual real life projects, where they try to hire freelancers and they just let it do by the AI and grab the money afterwards. And they had like a 60% success rate. Yes, but there are a lot of examples. Hey, our submit button on the homepage does not work, or but this is not world lead. It's just more this maintenance of software, or and it's not these. If the premise is I want to create world-class software and I'm dedicated about it, to bring my D word again, I don't think AI will be the solution to develop these things.
Yeah, that's. I mean, we potentially need to do then a second episode in a year, and then we are both more experienced what will happen. But it's I agree on some of these points. I also saw it in December. We discussed a new app idea, and I said in parallel, instead of inviting our UI UX designer, all the stuff what we discussed, I prompted parallel in bold.new, and after a 90-minute meeting, we had a finished clickable prototype. Not functional, but we had already a good feeling how the app will look like, which features we know, and so on. And this is short.
And we create much better results.
Yeah, and this is now still the discussion point that the developer was able to go to the UI to UX designer and say, okay, these are the ideas. Now I need proper designs for that, please. Now I need to find answers for all these smaller things and so on. No, it's interesting. I think the main question, what I have always in my mind at the moment, because I see a little bit that, and also when I discuss it with our developers or people from other companies. So in general, the species developer is a little bit more, let's wait with the whole AI stuff. So they are not the...
We have seen the method producers.
This brings it automatically a little bit away from being the super early adapter. What I see the first time in the technology world is that you need to test it then a week later again because it's already approved, or 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later. So in theory, you need to spend so much time in testing stuff, what is possible today, that you can't work anymore because you're still testing. But no, I think somebody with knowledge who can see the crap, what's produced, or the mess, and then can improve it, and so on. I think that the next 12 months will be horrible interesting for everybody. So we will see.
I hope so.
Yeah, and I mean, there was I read an article 2 weeks ago. It creates already problems. So a lot of companies, they are stopping to hiring junior and mid-level developers, and they just focus on senior developers, which creates the interesting problem. Okay, how can you become a senior developer when nobody is hiring junior?
Talking 2 years with an AI.
Could be the solution. An expensive, very lonely solution. Yes. Yeah, we will see where this goes. Dedication. I think I really can feel your dedication to your product and also the solution, what you're doing. So cool. I really like it. I like the dedication topic. Let's come to the last point of the podcast. So last but not least, I asked you 3 questions. It's a classic 0, 6, 12. And let me share my screen again for this. So here we go. Share entire screen. So here we go. So the first question is, like always, so what was an interesting challenge that you have faced where you couldn't find an existing playbook to achieve your goals?
Yeah, I mean, I answered feature prioritization not because there's no playbook. Obviously, there are not only playbooks, there are whole books about it. There is, I mean, we are using Jira Product Discovery. They have their own playbook on their own, which is probably the best I can get to have it focused already on the tool that it is using. Still, I found it super hard I mean, I've read it all and then I still, now give it a priority and an impact, and then you get a score and just work on the ones that have the highest score. And you're like, what is an impact on a feature? Is it more customers or is it the enterprise customer? Is it, has it a higher impact because it improves an existing feature that has already more users, or is it the new feature which might involve our product? So I had I mean, I don't know. I've read it all and it all made sense. But if I came down and sat on my backlog and say like, okay, these are my ideas. What should I do now? How do I provide an impact? And then I was totally lost, and we had long discussions how we define it for us. And I was surprised how complex that is, and how many layers of thoughts you can put into this topic. And yeah.
And have you found a solution at the end, or is the solution no, we do it based on feeling again?
I think to be honest, I think gut feeling is still a strong part of it, but we're trying to step by step quantify this gut feeling. Like we are trying to find reasons against it and reasons for it, and then trying to find the impact based on that. But what we are looking at the beginning, I mean, often it is like everyone is bringing his own highlight or its own highlights and saying, yeah, I think this should be the one and the other one. And then we are trying to argue. And these are probably like the the dimensions we are trying to evaluate. Like, is it more customers or the big customers? Is it an existing feature or a new feature? To get a sense on this impact on this feature.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked about effort or something like that. This is this is still a whole other point, right? I mean, and there's also like then this part of should we go with an easy implementation? Like, okay, it is quick and dirty to get a feeling. Is it used at all, or should we add some refactoring? Do it correctly? When is the right time to do the refactoring? Because pace is definitely also an important part in our business.
Are you working at Yasoon with? I mean, you mentioned you implemented somehow Scrum, so I assume you're doing something with sprints and sprint end up. But are you executing somehow deadlines or due dates on features?
No.
No, I think it's what I and that was also part of the presentation what I did on the Jira Divinity Day because we learned it on the hard way, and I learned it a couple of times in my last 20 years on the hard way. That and by the way, also part of the training, the importance of deadlines, because I think what this whole agile aspect or mindset framework, call it whatever you want, it creates a little bit this environment where you believe you can leave deadlines away because they are not important. And this is often then influenced from additional sentences or accelerated from sentences, classic developer sentence. It takes how long it takes. Yeah. So the classic one. And I don't know how often I had the discussion with our team or also in previous jobs. Deadlines are bad because you're anyway moving them all the time and they're creating negative emotional pressure, blah, blah, blah. And I'm personally also super bad with deadlines. When somebody want to have a presentation from me upfront from an event, I never deliver. But the reason for that is because I don't know what I want to say at the presentation 3 weeks earlier. I know it a couple of hours earlier. But the interesting point is what I learned is that these feature prioritization, you can only prioritize when you know when something should be finished. Because when I have 10 tasks on my table and I need to prioritize, then my first question would be, okay, well, is there something super important what need to be finished first? And this is what we also did as resolution many, many years. We avoided deadlines and due dates and had somehow fluffy sprint ends where when something is not finished at the sprint, then we do it the same sprint. At the same time, for us, we learned that this is not enabling the team to making the right decisions for working on the right stuff, the right priorities. But I know exactly what you mean with all these in Jira product discoveries where you put some dots here, some dots there. I mean, you can take an ice model, a rice model, whatever they are called, and they are super good. But when multiple people working with that, they are relatively quick, super useless when you don't have a common sense on everything. And they...
Yeah, I think this is exactly the point. Like everyone had an own imagination what this means. And
it's super interesting. I think we also using Jira Product Discovery, we simplified this stuff as much as possible, because we had the same struggle what you described. Okay, is it a 3 or a 4, etc. And then we also get rid of some of the Atlassian examples because these enterprise customers, more customers, whatever, it's super, or delight customers, I think is also one of their thing. And yeah, we simplified it that the teams now can make more self-responsible decisions for when we are saying, okay, at the moment we should develop on customer-facing features, that they are not going, okay, guys, I do technical debt, bye-bye. So I think this is already, in a lot of cases, an achievement. And yeah, it's interesting, definitely an interesting one. Small features versus big stuff, yeah.
I mean, right now we had a lot of these bigger features, like we have added SharePoint, we have added a booking solution based on Microsoft bookings. And then you look through this idea list, and there are so many small things where you would say, hey, they can all be fixed within a week. I mean, each, but still it's not, you can really ship like feature. And now it's like a pendle. And we had the big stuff now, and now we are leaning towards the small features again. And I don't know.
I think these, and that's funny-wise, we definitely do the workshop. That's funny-wise where these Agile ceremonies, when you really stick to the original idea behind it, are super helpful because they can answer or can be helpful to answer a lot of these questions. And that's for example, had the situation with a NASA, not another Standup app. We also developed the last couple of months, mostly big stuff, additional integrations or a complete different meeting type and so on. And we are using always a previous version internally with the whole team. And I think, was it last week or the week before? Our Tobias wrote me such a long Slack message with, by the way, these are all the things what I don't get on your last big feature. So and I said, okay, thanks a lot for all the feedback and so on. It makes sense, and you have always a little bit these emotional downs. Okay, when you get 20 hits immediately, it is always painful. And then I answered on it and so on, but it also showed me, we were not constant enough in our sprint review and in the review of the features, because 80% of his points were relatively obvious, small improvements. So, and these stakeholder feedback in sprint reviews, it's sometimes too quick. Yeah, I like it, blah, 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 instead of questioning what somebody created. So no, interesting. We need to do the workshop. I want to learn from you so many things. So
I hope we can make it work.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely should do it. 6 months. So the second question is, what did you face in the next 6 months?
I chose we had a kickoff beginning this year, and the topic was break the trend, just because marketing numbers are going down. We have relied on the Atlassian Marketplace for traffic as our major sales channel.
Yeah.
We see less and less traffic coming in, less and less trial coming in. Conversion is, not the relative number, but the total number of conversion is going down because of the fewer traffic.
Yeah.
And so we have to start becoming a mature company, invest into our own marketing and sales channels. It was a luxury situation for the most time to only rely on the Atlassian Marketplace, but now it's time to become a real company that has its own footprint, its own marketing, its own sales.
It's a beast.
And we want to break the trend and turn these declining numbers back into growing numbers.
Yeah. And it's I discussed it with a lot of partners, customers, Atlassian solution partners, marketplace partners. I think you have at the moment so many pressure points on the Atlassian ecosystem, and for not going into the details that we are not ending up in 2 hours now complaining about everything. But one aspect here is an interesting one. So what I see and what I get as feedback is that all the new Atlassian customers are not trained in the behavior, hey, there is a marketplace for a solution. And this makes it exactly what you're saying here. Okay, then I need to have active sales and marketing channels to explain people, hey, by the way, you can install an app for it. So like these iPhone commercials many years old, there's an app for it. Yeah. So
maybe we should create a big group of marketplace vendors to have like these common incentives to promote apps in the Jira ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, you have. We did a little bit last year, this joint session with a couple of vendors where we traveled together and talked to solution partners, to customers worldwide. Yeah. And it was 80 days of traveling. And that was an amazing journey. It was super helpful and so on. But it's, again, something what is really more on a long-term ROI thing. I think in marketing, I'm a sales and marketing person since 20 years. So sales, you can measure really good. Marketing, you can measure nearly not so good. And when somebody is saying we are doing brand marketing, then okay, no way of measurement. Or no good KPIs in most of the cases. But yeah, it's. I mean, I see it on what we are doing. That more and more people also coming to me and saying, "Hey, I saw your podcast, or I saw the training stuff, or whatever." So it is definitely working, extending these awareness stuff, but it's a hard game. It's really a hard game. So the marketplace was many years a cool thing and a trustful channel for income, but it's now not enough anymore. Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, also the partners, they are like they are revenue-wise, they're really important. But if you're also looking at installation numbers and you want to keep a high search ranking in the Atlassian Marketplace, you need to have a lot of installs. And so you also have to focus on these smaller companies like 1 to 100 seats in the Atlassian cloud, and they probably don't have an Atlassian partner. There's probably a non-technical person becoming the Jira admin. They are, as you mentioned, they have no training. They were just the ones who signed up, and hey, that makes you the Jira admin, and they are learning on their job to provide value for the department. And I think for them it's important to have other channels like Google. They don't know about the marketplace. They will know about Google. Maybe we need to have a ChatGPT prompt engineering injection. I don't know what the next step after SEO will be, but probably they will have questions on their job, and we need to find a way to answer these questions and promote ourselves as a solution.
Yeah, definitely. So that means I can. First of all, the good part of the story is I will see a lot of new content from Yasoon in the future. That's cool.
Not my content. I hope so as well.
No. I mean, that's cool. I think we are in general 2025 will be the hardest way where what Atlassian solution partners and marketplace partners has faced for many years. So it's and there is an interesting aspect in it that, and you also said you started development in cloud from the beginning, but you have also a huge installed-based server data center and so on. So, and I talked to a lot of marketplace vendors, and when they had solutions, that's what we don't as a solution have. So our data center app has no cloud version, so it means we can't migrate it. So I think the whole Atlassian ecosystem was in the last 12, 18 months, maybe 24 months, busy with migration from data center and server to cloud. So, and this masked a lot of the slowdown, what we see now drastically. So a lot of partners said that it's like somebody hit the brake for a couple of months ago with a new business. So when you then ask, by the way, when was your migration to cloud mostly done? Yeah, relatively similar. So yeah, because it's exactly what happened. The whole ecosystem was busy with these cloud migrations. Then we have tons of aspects that on average less apps installed per customer, blah, blah, blah. We have Volkswagen said, 2 weeks ago, they want to get rid of 25% of the employees and so on. So you have also customers are shrinking. So that also makes less users. No, I think it will be a challenging time, 2025. At the same time, Atlassian was always a growing market. The cake was always big enough the whole time. So that's normally what we don't have. Yeah. So it makes it definitely an interesting one. I wish you really luck with that. Looking forward to the content.
We will closely monitor your LinkedIn profile for any advice. Shameless plug. Björn is publishing his analysis on his LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, so there will be an interesting article this week. I'm already working on something. So where do you plan to be in 1 year? So you pick a year.
Yeah, I mean, I chose from being from an app vendor to a solution provider. So right now we are an app. We provide you with all the tools that are required to connect Jira with Microsoft 365. And what we are right now providing what we are working on is to provide in-product solutions that you can just activate that are pre-configured for a specific business line.
So is it like template?
So we have like then a use case for internal ticketing. We have a use case for HR application management. We have one for incident management. We have one for project management with external customers, stuff like this. So a lot of solutions that require a lot of communication, ticketing, require a lot of communication, incident management. You need to get the right people at the right time. With communicating with externs is always something that is often done via mail or Teams or whatever. And so, or application management, you get applications. They are definitely not in your company. You don't have a chat room with them, or they are not accessing your Jira so there are a lot of solutions where we try two things at the same time. We want to educate the customer what they can achieve with our app to get more users, not paid users. I mean, they are already paying for the whole instance, but it's sometimes sad to see that a company has 500 seats and then only the 50 agents are using our app, while all the others could still benefit from it. And so we try to give them more examples how they can use it, how they can roll it out in their company. And I think that also aligns quite good with the Atlassian way to more think about these project templates. They want to make it easier to roll it out. And then we are again for the smaller customers that don't have a solution partner, they need to be able to figure it out on their own. And so
are you doing this together with solution partners, or is it an Yasoon solution at the moment mostly?
I mean, it depends what you mean by that. Right now, we are talking with solution partners to get the input, to get the value points right, stuff like this. We do not have paid, or we do not have like implementation partnerships yet. So that would be like an potentially next step to say like, hey, this HR solution case, we have 3 partners that are really familiar with that case, not only in our app, but also with how to use Jira in HR, and so we can recommend them and give them additional business for implementing the app. So this is something we have not yet explored, actually.
Okay. I mean, it's also what we are discussing with our solution partners, and also when we did this tour last year, and we talked to many solution partners in parallel, it was a time where Atlassian pushed every solution partner to work on their solutions, which was in a lot of cases just writing down what they are already doing in an Atlassian way, that Atlassian can be aware of this. I mean, it's a natural interest from a services company to provide solutions to a customer. So I'm more the believer that it doesn't need Atlassian for it. But it will be part of my article, by the way, this week. So the whole part behind it. No,
keep it positive, please.
it's more a scenario article. No, I think it's. I was a long time, or in the previous jobs, we integrated a services company in a huge hardware distributor. So 500 people joined the company with 4,000 people. And also there, the main task, and it took us a couple of years to figure out what is the right way for it, was to writing down on different ways what we can do, because sometimes it's super difficult for somebody to consume that when they ask, okay, what is your service? Then you do everything. And then, okay, how can I handle it now? But when you have somehow a data sheet, which means, okay, this is our best practice for integrating Office 365 Teams and so on with Jira Service Management. These are the benefits, these are the used tools and so on. So it's sometimes as a product company or also services company, you are a little bit blind because it's clear for you what you can do, but it's a nice task to creating it in, to writing it down, to give it somehow additional aspects that other people can consume it easier. Yeah.
It will not surprise you that it also has a technical aspect if I bring it on the agenda, right? It also helps us internally exactly with these prioritizations. Like if I understand, okay, this feature is only for that use case, or it's only for that solution, while another feature can be used in every solution, I know how to tackle it. And this gives me a way to think about new features, new enhancements, the importance of bug fixes, stuff like this. It gives me one layer of thinking, and it also gives me a way how to learn about the customer. Like right now, I only see they are creating chats, they are creating mails, they are creating files, whatever. I don't know in which context they're using it. If they choose to activate incident management, I know, oh, this chat is in the context of incident management, and I can use that for analytics and product knowledge and stuff like this. So it's not only for the customer, it's not only for the sales, it's also for us internally to better structure our thoughts.
No, it makes totally sense, especially when you have more and more complex solutions. You need to simplify these starting points again, because I also see it on our single sign-on app. So you can have hundreds of different setups, but we have still new customers who are saying, okay, what is now the best practices? How the others are doing it? When you can work in so many directions, and it can be definitely helpful to have it written down that people can also get these ideas. I mean, in German, I always called it a solution or a written down solution. It can be super helpful with a geistige Brandstiftung. I don't know how to translate it in English, but no, interesting. So, it fits really, really well with your 6-month stuff. Or so when creating more content, more sales, etc., working on the solution gives on some point the content as well. So cool. Looking really forward to it.
Really
Andreas,
awesome.
Amazing. So we said 1 hour, 15 minutes.
1 hour.
Right?
We want to have 1 hour.
We are on 1 hour 50, close to 1 hour 50. It was an amazing chat. Thank you very much.
Yeah, also gives me a lot of things to think about, because I always thought resolution and Yasoon are pretty
similar
on the same level, with no deadlines, developer focus, stuff like this. And now you're thinking, hey, we have now introduced this and we have introduced that, and now I need to think about if we need to change, if you are gone the wrong way, or if we need to change as well.
No.
Gives me a lot of things to think about.
We definitely should do the workshop. Your next event where people can meet you is Atlassian Team 25 in Anaheim.
Yes, I also have a presentation there if you want to join me.
Perfect. So I will be also there. Thanks a lot. Again, it was super interesting. And then I'm looking forward to next time, and good luck with all the goals.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.